fighting fury, we're from Tigerland. In any weather you will see us with a grin, risking head and skin. If we're behind, then never mind, we'll fight and win, for we're from Tigerland. We never weaken till the final siren's gone.
It's Wednesday night selection night. Sorry, I'm laughing because I just think of you when that last clip pops up because I've not changed it.
I hate it. I don't know why you picked it. I don't know why, but it's all good. I
get to roll it twice a week, so I get to stitch you up twice. But
I know.
Welcome to our team selection. Yeah, sometimes three.
Yes,
that's right. Sometimes roll it out three. Welcome to the team selection night for Wednesday night. It's always an interesting night of the week to get Tiggs' thoughts on the game just gone, as well as both of our possible lineups. And we've actually got a new inclusion for tonight that we were just road testing a little bit. Some of you may have seen my post on the various socials, but you can send us through a voicemail message through a program called SpeakPipe. So I think we've got 3 questions tonight that I've been able to upload, so we'll roll them throughout the night as well. So I appreciate everyone who sent through questions. It's just another way that you guys can share your voice. And one way I've seen it used really well, from it might have even been Swoop Luke from the Collingwood podcast, was post-game. Like, if people have got thoughts and feelings about after a result, you can send them through in voicemail, and we can run them on a fan cam show or something like that. So we'll find different ways to utilize it, but we appreciate you sending through your questions. But Tiggs, how are you, mate? Welcome back.
Yeah, good. I'm pretty stoked. I had a bit of a nap, which is rare for me, obviously, with my sleeping because of the head thing. Managed to get 45 minutes in, but I apologise. It's giving me a really bad hair, really bad hair day. So I'm not looking my best, but no, I'm feeling quite good after that sleep. So I've been well, mate. I've been well.
Very good, very good. Before we get stuck into the team selection stuff, what were your thoughts on the Bulldogs game? Obviously, the result didn't quite go our way. It was at 79 points or whatever it was. What were your thoughts? Did you notice anything that you would have maybe done differently in that particular game?
Yeah, look, a couple of things. But I'm not a hater. I just want to paraphrase this, right? Because it went the way that we thought. Like, we knew we were going to get open up on the outside. And, we're probably going to lose by 60 points. And obviously we lost by more than that. So I knew we were up against it before it actually started. But, look, obviously we know it's well known the conversion's a major issue for us. Which is rare for the first year of a rebuild. We have quarters in nearly every game where we dominate. Sometimes it's a quarter and a half. We actually literally dominate the opposition. If you analyse it a bit, the reason why we do that is we do still have mature, high-quality premiership players in that list. So that gives us, when the game's either hot or when we're clicking and the kids can feed off that leadership, we can, play really well. But even when we're dominating, we're still not converting well. This year's been atrocious. Now, is that system? Is that method? Is that who's getting the ball and kicking inside 50? It's probably everything. A hodgepodge of it. But I remember when I watched that first quarter, I tweeted, "Oh, Jesus, this is going to sting us." And then midway through the second quarter, I think we were something stupid like 1 goal, 7 or something like that. And then, the damn wall broke and we just got basically slapped around. There's a few things I get. I'm trying to be as supportive I can because our coaching group has had one off season, right? So I try to base my opinion on that fact first, right? It's 1 year, right? Some have been there longer, obviously, but 1 year together. Yeah. Look, and I'm not a coaching guru, right? The thing is, what I'm very confident is I know people in the industry that are pretty good, and just talking to them because I've got nothing but free time now as I'm recovering from this. We're really, really not poorly coached. I don't want to say that, but we're really basic to play against in the sense that by method and system to count. Like in every game, once that one wood gets taken away, we have no facility to draw it back. None. We've shown it again and again and again and again and again. We cannot counter it. And that's okay now. Like, I'm not upset with it. But the one that really struck out to me is how we set up with Darcy. I don't want to take away from one of the things, so I'll probably leave it at that. But that was a good window of something wasn't working. We didn't change it, and we just left it as it was. We've got our own players now openly admitting that they're doing out of their own back to get a change. That's not a good sign in a first year, a young kid saying, "No, I'm going in the guts now. because I think we need to do something when he hasn't been told to lead. It's great for the kid itself to show that initiative. He has that character to, but it's not a good sign.
I think it come across as if they had spoken about it previously, but I'm not sure.
It's
how
no matter how you cut it, no matter how you cut it, it ain't a good sign, right? But I'm not saying it's doom and gloom, but we've got major. There's got to be this off season we have to really rejig the list, and I'm more than convinced you cannot have Taranto and Hopper in the same midfield. So my ins and outs reflect that. We have to break the Hopper combo. The reason why is they're great players in there, and we'll be screwed without it. I get all that. It's just unfortunate. It's a perfect storm, but they're getting 80, 90% of the ball, right, in the guts. And they haven't got the ability to distribute it properly. Both of them, in the majority of their disposal. They can't hit a target inside 50. They can't hit a target, with purpose on the wing or a high forward flank. They're not like pressure that, sometimes he can muck up the ball, but he can hit you on the chest if you're leading in. These two boys can't, and these two boys are getting all the ball. So I have full confidence. Adam knows this. I have full confidence in going, all right, this year it's just to protect the kids and let's develop them. So I've gone with our in or outs to say, all right, it's a kids' year. Let's make it that while we've got these two balls. But they've got to do something. They've got to do something else. We're going to be treading water for a few years.
Yeah. Now, I know there was the Sam Darcy mention. What I'll do, I'll actually roll the first question that come through on SpeakPipe because it was actually in relation to this. So I'll let the question roll and then you can give your answer after that.
Yeah, good job, guys. It's Turka here. I was just getting your thoughts on it was been doing my head in ever since why Bolter got the job on Darcy, given he's been in and out like a yo-yo. I just thought Miller's got the runs on the board and should have gone with him first up, or at least get changed onto him. Just send your thoughts on that. Great job, guys. See ya.
Turka, that's fantastic. You're basically reading my mind. That's my problem. Miller's a stopper, right? That's what he is. He's Asprey clone. I said that when people laughed at me. And I said, no, put 100 games in this guy. He's going to be an Asprey. And people said, oh, he's useless. Just delist him. I said, no. If he's playing, and he's proving me right? Every game. He can close down an oppo. Darcy's in form. And no matter, I know some people try to defend Bolt's poor game by saying, no, but he's getting paid a lot of money, so he should just do what he's told. Yes, you're right. But the reality is Bolt's strength is not as a lockdown. He can do the odd job if it's a very similar matchup, or if he's in form, or the forward he's playing is not mobile, that's going to stay deep, like his performance against King, where he dominated, but he still allowed him to play his natural game by running up and supporting. He was just more athletic enough to get back and then man King when he needed to. But Darcy's too smart. Darcy did not allow that to happen. And what we did by having Bolter off on Darcy, we robbed ourselves of Bolter's greatest strength, which is an intercept, support role. That's what he's great at, getting that last fist in, like a really tall Vlosten. The second layer to that, what it calls, was Vlosten being exposed. It allowed Norton to club him in the head every time he wanted to go for the ball, right? Because there was no other big body getting in there to support, because Bolter was not playing his natural game. Miller, I would have done exactly what Turka said. I would have put Miller on Darcy. When Darcy's deep, Miller's got him, right? Yeah, Darcy would have still kicked a few goals, but Miller's disciplined enough, and it's his natural game to stay with him throughout the entirety was in the forward 50. But he would have had support. Yes, he doesn't have the speed to go with Darcy, but that's where Bolter comes into it, because Norton is your meat and potatoes forward. He's lead up mark. He's easy to play off. That makes sense? That's why we had Vlosten on him. We had, with Miller taking him, but Vlosten was supporting him when he tried to take off. We should have done that to Darcy, and we didn't. And what really upset's the wrong word. It's not the win-loss, but what was really disappointing, we didn't do any changes with it. We let it go till the game was completely gone, completely dusted. And that's symptomatic for me of it's either Adam's gone, no, we want Bolter, see what he can do, even when we're getting smashed. I don't care about the result. Let's just let it. let's just see what happens. It could be that, and if it is, well, we've seen what happens. Or it's poor communication, who knows? But I know it's a rebuild. I know it's a first year. But I just found that like a bit of a red flag. Like, why would you ignore it for so long? Why would you go, okay, that matchup we're getting killed on, how is that benefiting the rest of the team?
Yeah, I was surprised there wasn't a move made earlier just to see if it changed the course of the game, because Darcy was dominating. The one that stood out for me, like I can understand some of the ones where they maybe got lost in handover.
Yeah.
I can kind of understand that, because it kind of felt like our defense was disjointed all night, to be honest. But the one that stood out for me was when they're on the half forward line after maybe another marking contest, and Darcy's run back inside 50 and Bolter's just walking 15 metres behind him, and then Darcy takes an uncontested mark. I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? But yeah, it would have been nice to have seen a bit of a flicking around of Magnus just to see if it changed anything. And
that would just tell him Bolter mentally is just fried, right? And that's what I couldn't understand about it. You've got a guy playing one game, then off, then one game because of his court stuff, and he's a human being, right? So you think, okay, let's keep his energy levels. Let's let him enjoy his game of football. So let's give him a task that we know he's going to enjoy. And he loves that intercepting, spoiling, where he can use his big 60-metre kick. We just robbed ourselves of a weapon on a particularly small ground where we could have used to get over that Bulldog wall. Remember, in the third quarter, it really struck me.
Yeah.
One person that could kick over that wall was Bolter. But we couldn't feed it to him at all because he was too... Yeah, so... And it just was basic junior footy. Well, if we're getting... Always the ball's getting going to half forward and getting back into our forward 50. Give it to someone that can kick over that wall and get runners to run onto the contest. Scare the Bulldogs a bit. And we didn't do any of that. It was alarming. It was probably not the first game, because I've mentioned it pretty consistently, but it worried me, and it makes me just take a breath and go, okay, Tiggs, it's the first year. He's obviously got clear systems he wants to implement or watch, maybe to identify strengths or I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm trying to make excuses. I
know what you mean. Like there's things that happen within games that I think are frustrating a lot of supporters. I'm kind of hoping and banking on this just being that there's a method to their madness. Like I'm banking on them heavily knowing what they're doing, and then we'll see some changes and another layer to game plan next year. Because like you said, we're pretty easy worked out. The frustrating part for me, and I think this is becoming too much of a trend, maybe because we are easy to work out, is not being able to score a goal for multiple quarters in a game. That irks me a little bit. Like it shouldn't matter how far you are in a rebuild or how early you are, you should be able to score at least a goal a quarter minimum. But teams have just been able to work this out. And I fully appreciate and understand that it is too difficult to teach multiple lays in one off season. I completely agree. So that's something I'll be looking for next year, to see different methods to change things up. And hopefully we can, counteract a few things. What about Elgar as sub? What did you make of that?
Who?
Of Jasper Elgar as the sub.
Oh, you're going to get me upset. Look, just let me clarify. I'm not defending Bolter's performance. It was Pig Paul. And he's been old enough. He's a senior player for our list. He should have put his hand up and said, you know what, I'm not on. Please change me, coach, because I'm not having a good game. And who knows? So, I'm not defending Bolter, but, as the coaches are there to amplify our weapons, and we're not doing it. We haven't done it all year. We don't amplify our weapons. That's my point. Now, onto your question. Why would you put a kid who has worked his ass off in the VFL to warrant a promotion into the seniors, would have his family there and say to him, you're a sub?
Yeah.
When you've got players like Camden McIntosh, which I love, I will die on a hill for Camden. But it seems to be, this is what's getting me a little bit scared. I'm trying to still be positive, but if we're in a rebuild first year and the season's done, right? We've only won 3 games, right? Season's kapooey. We're not taking senior players out of the side to just inject the kid as the primary guy. I would have gone, Algo, you're playing first bounce. Camden, you're not. You're the sub. And we'll give him 2 full quarters where the energy's there and we're still in the hunt. And then if he's still only getting 3 disposal and he's not generating anything, then bench him, put on Camden, and he'll learn a lesson. Doing it the other way around, you don't learn anything.
Yeah. My only thought was, to RFC's point, that maybe it was because it was a very, very late inclusion with McAuliffe, but I'll be fuming if he gets dropped this week on the back of it, because they by playing him as sub for whatever the reasons there might have been, it essentially set him up to fail because the game was going to be cooked by the time he come on. So I'll be fascinated to see what they do this week with him. But yeah, I feel for the kid, but hopefully he gets a crack at it. What did you make? What about Lynch's game? Kicked a few late goals. I thought he worked himself in quite nicely.
I was proud of him. Look, it's been a consistent theory since Adam's been with us, or really towards the last year, a hard week. But at least with Hardwick, even though he was demotivated, obviously was looking for greener pastures, we had a method in how we put the ball inside 50, right? We have not had a method of how we hit the ball inside 50. And it hasn't changed this year. It's just carried on from last year. Nothing's easy for us. So to get a forward that's, at his end of his career, working his up, because people, not particularly the first couple of quarters, you should have seen Twitter, they're giving it to him. Oh, he's not working hard enough. They're not seeing his multiple leads, trying to create space. He hasn't got the speed he once had from the burst. So he's doing it, with someone he's dragging the defender with him.
Yeah.
But towards the end of the game, as the defender started to fatigue, he started to get into the game. And like that first attempt at goal that, obviously went out in the full, I think it stayed in play, but it was not even close. That was a fatigue kick, right? That tells me how hard this guy's working. Thank God he's re-signing for another year, right? To give some leadership for Armstrong and the younger kids that we have. But it's a crucible of and again, I'm not blaming Hop and Tranter because they're having great seasons, but Jesus, because they're getting the ball first. If your primary midfielder can't distribute the ball correctly, and doesn't distribute it to advantage, then the player that gets the ball takes too long, and then it snowballs, right? Then it's a hurry kick inside 50. That's what's happening. So
yeah, and it happens quite a bit. The common trend I'm seeing, we'll get 50 inside 50s and 25, and we'll be marked by the other team, and we take our forwards out of the game completely.
How many kicks have you seen? And I appreciate the comments to get into this too. So see if it's just not my eyes playing tricks. How many kicks have you seen in a game? Think about it for a second. That has been to advantage. It doesn't have to hit the target, but it has to be to the advantage of the forward. How often, you put a percentage in a game, would you see our mids or wingers actually hit to advantage?
It's not often.
It's like 15, 20%, and I think that's being kind.
I reckon the forwards are sometimes to blame here as well, because they'll sometimes just stand there with their hand up, saying, "Put it on my head." Maybe because they're tired. I don't know. I don't like that method of ball entry because that's easy for other teams to cut off. But to your point, when we are leading and moving or whatever, or there is space, it doesn't often get put to the favourable side of the forward, which doesn't help.
And this is what my mate showed me. He brought his laptop and he said, "I'll explain to you why that's happening." And he pointed, obviously, it sounds like I'm attacking him, these two players, right? It's just, unfortunately, they're the ones getting all of our disposal in this because they're getting first possession. They're releasing the ball, poor quality ball. So what that forces the winger, because people then blame the wingers. Well, the winger's kicking it and he's kicking it shit. No, because he's spending too much time trying to get that ball. And then he's got to work off his opponent, be rushed when he's doing it. It's not there's no clean possession generated from our midfield. That's probably the best way to describe it. No clean possession.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
What's killing us.
Yeah, and we'll look at the stoppage numbers and clearance numbers and things like that during the week, and we might look relatively even in that stat, but it's about the quality of the clearance. That's the difference between us and opposition, and that's something they've got to work on. And look, hopefully, we obviously saw Seth Campbell go in there off his own back. It come out post game, but then an article gets dropped on the club website that reads as if that we've been planning or are looking to introduce newer names into the midfield for the back half of the season. For me, I'm excited for that, but it's one of those things I'll believe it when I see it, because at the moment, pretty much for every game, Taranto and Hopper have been at 90% CBAs, which is just crazy in any sense of the term. But if we do introduce new names, all for it, and I'll be convinced that they had it planned out all along, and it will make sense. Hopefully we can see that happen.
And this is the only way we can address this. If we continue having those two boys playing in the centre, there's going to be minimal development. And so next year we'll be in the same position, right? Mark my words. Mark my words. This year will repeat next year. If the last, how many games? 8 games, 7 games, whatever we got left. Flood it with kids. Have one of them in the centre and one of them in the forward or the back line, wherever you want to put them somewhere, right? Because you still need it. They are a quality. They are a quality player. Keep pressure in there, thank God. Keep him in there because he's generally effective in giving clean disposal. But yeah, just put one of them in there and then surround him with kids, right? Yeah, that's what we need to do.
Definitely hoping we see that as the year goes on. Before we get into the selections, there was another question that came through about an old friend of the show, which I'll play for you to get your thoughts on.
I spoke to him this morning. Yes,
you did?
Funny enough, it came up. I did.
I'll play the question.
Hey guys, I hope you're well. I'm just wondering if Tiggs has heard from Malcolm lately with a bit of a synopsis regarding what's gone wrong at Carlton. Cheers.
Yeah, look, I spoke to Malcolm, and he's so passionate about his Blues. He's got tattooed across his chest, kill the dick pic. He blames it on the dick pic, right? That dick pic, and now it's a very small dick pic, but it's penetrated all throughout the club, right? So, he's in shock at the moment. He always believes there's going to be a flag. They've got a top 4 list. They shit all over Essendon because that's his crux, right? But he's now starting to dawn that, Vossi isn't the premiership coach that he thought he was. So, he's not very happy, but he's convinced it was a dick pic. That's caused the
catalyst for the form slump. Jesus.
Yeah, that tiny dick pic. Because it shamed a lot of the Blues players, like, Cripps is about that size. The Kernos probably a little bit, all that sort of stuff. So it really shattered their confidence.
We love it. And the last question we'll play, because this will kind of lead into the team selection, so we can kind of use this as the basis.
Yeah.
It's about the young Cubs.
Yo, Tiggs and Michaels. Big fan of the show. Been watching every week. I just wanted to know, out of all the kids that we've drafted who are still playing in the team, who do you think deserves the rest? Because I can't pick. They've all been great. You know what I mean? And like what Michaels has been saying, I think we need to bring in McKelty Lafau to bring in a bigger body in the forward line. So out of the kids, who goes out? Go Tigers.
Who goes out? You go first, Michaels. Good question. Great question.
Yeah.
I wish you had given us your name. If you call in, guys, please do, but give us your name so we can give you a shout out.
That one was from Jack.
Yeah.
That was from Jack. So, I had to try and work out how to build him into this system. But the one, I'm sort of flipping a coin. So I'll bring up my side first. Have I got the right one? No, wrong one. That's my one. I went with Sims. I was tossing the coin between Sims and Fall, and I just think we need McKelty Lafau to come in, as per what Jack had referenced with what I've been saying for a few weeks, that I think we need McKelty Lafau to come into play as our deepest forward. I posted a video the other day showing McKelty's second, third, and fourth efforts while being the deepest forward with pressuring opposition players when they were trying to exit our forward 50. And it's just something that Tom Lynch doesn't do. And it's not a slight on Lynch. It's just the fact that he's a bit old and he can't do it anymore. So I get it. But if you watch the AFL game, when opposition have a kick out or they've marked it deep in defence or there's a free kick, Lynch is often our highest forward, and they're relying on him to go and apply pressure to these exit kicks, and he can't get there. And but before you know it, teams have had 4 possessions down to the wing uncontested, and the whole ground's opened up because there's been no pressure on it. Whereas McKelty will shut that down. And I just felt that Sims might be the one to make way. I thought Fall performed better than Sims on the weekend. That's just the basis behind it. And McKelty can back up ruck as well. So my changes for the week would be Caleb Smith out, Tom Sims out. I've gone Noah Bolter out. I don't think it will honestly happen, but my reason for Noah Bolter out is he just looked like, to your point earlier, Tiggs, that his head's not in the game. And I understand he's got a bit of shit going on due to his own actions. If he's not mentally able to check into the game and do his role properly, then put your hand up and step aside and bring in the bloke who's had 24 touches and 14 marks for the last 5 weeks to do the job, and give him a chance. And in all honesty, Adelaide probably almost require all 3 of Blight, Bolter, and Miller, because they've got three big forwards themselves in Thilthorpe, Walker, and Fogarty. But I'm not sure we can fit all three in. But if Bolter's just not feeling it, I would pull the trigger on it. I don't think they will. That's just what I would do. But yeah, my ins, Jacob Blight, McKelty Lafau, and Sam Lawler, because I believe he's down as a test. And I can see why there'd be an argument for him to play some VFL. I don't think that will happen, though. I think we could actually do with his beautiful kicking inside 50. Again, to your point earlier, Tiggs, about the delivery from Taranto and Hopper, Lawler's a different beast altogether with how he passes the ball. I've gone Camden as sub, giving Jasper Alger a full game. And then, yeah, with Jonty Fall, Jack Ross, Tyler Sonzi, and Steely Green on the bench. Steely, for me, is clinging on by the skin of his teeth. Morris Rioli was probably the player I was looking at. He had an okay game, didn't have a massive game, but it wasn't a bad game by any stretch. And James Trezise was another one who probably had a bit of a lower game from his previous week, but he was getting very, very close as well. For Morris, I'd love to see him get another 3 or 4 games in the midfield at a really good level before I'd bring him in that role. But again, it's whether we're prepared to do that or not. I just don't know how he would go as a small forward.
You just hit me an nail on the head for me. Sorry, this is about the game just gone that it's just come to me now. Is that how was your feeling about Sonzi being taken off?
Wrong call. He was actually one who was playing okay at that point in time. And
he's a neat kick. He's actually a clean kick. Anyway, I've got to let that game go. But that I forgot to. I write notes, obviously, so my memory now.
Yeah.
I never mentioned it. But look, I agree. Bolter. Look, I'm like a lot of the comments with Bolter. When he has played, he's been one of our better defenders. He's had one bad game. I think he was poorly coached. I think he was poorly set up. Sometimes you can be set to fail, and I think that's a lot of that happened. But you're right with Blight. I really wanted to get him in the side. I've gone with, you'll see on my 22, I've gone for youth. I'll
bring yours up now. Here we go. Bring yours up. There you go.
Okay, so I've gone for youth, right? I've gone, okay, the season's done, right? So, Laylor, do you play him in the VFL? What's he going to get out of it? So, I didn't write you who's the sub, right? My brain just didn't kick in, but I would be yours. McIntosh would be my sub. Alga will play a full game. It's the difference with mine. But for me, I would put Laylor in Taranto's position, so he'll play in the guts. For me, Ross is now, people are going to hate me about this because they're all coming off. He's had an okay game. If you analyse Ross's numbers, right, he's playing the Lambert role. Right? He's playing high half forward to run into the midfield to support, right? In the last 4 weeks, how many centre clearances has he had in 4 weeks, do you reckon? Not including the bye, obviously. What would be acceptable for any midfielder? And he's had he averages 83% game time. So it's not like he's getting. How many clearances would you hope? Well, what would be a minimum standard per game as an average in 4 weeks?
I mean, you want at least 4 to 5 a game would be nice. It depends on how many CBAs they get as well.
Yeah, because he's young and, because of his thing, I sort of said to myself 3. So let me measure on 3, right? That's what you expect, right? He's averaging 2, 1. Really, I rounded up to get to 2. His goals, assists are low. If you judge him on the position he's playing on, he's not performing that role at all. He should be dropped, right? The only place for Ross he needs to be is either on a wing, right, or in the guts. But even in the guts, his centre clearances are really poor, right?
I don't mind him in the guts. I think he plays his best footy there. Prestia coming back in has pretty much negated him getting big numbers.
I thought so too. And I looked at his numbers when he was playing in the guts in the beginning of the year, and it bared fruit. Like, he had some 4s, 3s, 4s, 5s in clearances. But for whatever reason, we've gone away from that. I know why we have, because Ross is not overly endowed with pace. He's obviously not a very good he's also not as clean off by foot once with pressure. So we've got some serious decisions. So I sort of thought, if I'm the coach, what would I do? All right, well, I know what Ross can give me now, right? Take him off. I'm going to put Tash Houghton as my new Lambert. He's got all the tools to do it. He showed that in the VFL for half a game. He's got that closing speed. He's a beautiful kick. He's intelligent. Some of his intercepting, some there was this particular mark. I think he did it in the second quarter. He was completely out of position, undersized, no right into a contested. There was a whole pack forming, and he marked the ball.
He cut across the front. It was like a panther. Just bang. There he was.
He could read. He could read that play. So for me, is what I'm trying to do is I don't care if he only gets 8 disposals, right? But for the first 2 quarters of every game for the rest of the year, he's playing. And why? Because I want to see him given a chance to build his game. See his clean kicking, see how it changes the side. So that's why I went him for. And for me, Sam Lawler and Taranto will alternate. So what I'll do with
Ford and midfield.
Yeah. So similar to what we did with Caddy and Dusty, I would go, okay, Sam, Taranto, Sam, you're in, Taranto, you're forward. And then also, Sam, when you're in, maybe if you want to keep Taranto in there, get Hopper forward, but it's going to have to change the thematic. Inject his class. You've got Taj run. You've got the new boy Taj Houghton running in to give more support in that midfield. So you've now got Prestia in there. So you've now got the majority. 3 out of the 6 players that generally will 5 or 6 players, depending on how we set up, are good clearance kicks. Even though 2 of them are really young career-wise, but showed in the juniors that they have that ability. So, and for me, I said to Green, well, I've seen what I've seen right now with Green. All right, so go in the VFL and dominate, son. Enjoy your football. He can't be enjoying it. He can't be. He'll have the good game. Buffet
had the huge again on the weekend, which was nice,
which is credit to him. It was a credit to him, but we need to start to maximize some of that forward 50. And this is why I haven't put sorry, what's the? It's my brain. Sorry, Falau. Is that how you pronounce it? Falau. Lafau. Yeah, sorry. The reason I haven't brought Lafau in. If I can clean up that inside 50, I don't care if we only get 30 inside 50s and we lose by fucking 50 points. But those 30 inside 50s are actually quality, or a good portion of them are quality. And then the forwards start marking, and then the forward starts actually converting. I reckon with the forward line we have, it has the ability to do that if it's giving decent supply. So,
Taj and Sam Lawler give you some decent supply straight off the bat. I guess the only question mark on Taj Houghton is fitness based, and does he need more weeks at VFL? But from a skill and IQ perspective, he is far above the VFL, and that was evident in about 15 minutes of football. It's an interesting one. I would love to see him playing sooner rather than later. My gut feel is they'll be super cautious. They'll probably be very cautious in his return anyway. But, he'll be in very, very soon. And I do get your theory behind it, though, because he adds that quality straight away. He's a phenomenal player.
Because, Ross has to be – Ross – and I think he knows himself. His games the last 8 weeks. I went back all the way back to round 7. His clearances 0, 1, 0, 0, 3, 0, 0. They're 1 here, 2 there. They're not good. And it's exposing us because he also doesn't attack the goals. Like he's not like a Lambert who could, he's playing that half forward role to run up and support the midfielders. He's not impacting the contest. He still has the one knock I have for him. I've had for him since we recruited him. And it was on full display, even though he got 19 disposals. And that was all mainly when the queue was in the rack. It's also another thing that disappointed me about Yuze's commentary after the game. But, we showed what we could do in the last quarter. Seriously, they were in injury management mode, the Bulldogs. If you want to be completely
they did.
They lost Trelaw. They're on injury management. Let's not get any reports. We still lost the quarter, mind you. We didn't win the quarter. We still lost the quarter.
It was nice to kick 5 goals, but you definitely have to
quarter.
have the viewpoint that they took the foot off the pedal for majority of it, and then they obviously still scored some goals themselves.
They still generated 6 scoring opportunities. They still 6 goals. They could have easily kicked 8, 9, but it was really disappointing to hear. Let's put our rack. Our first quarter was good. The rest of it was shit house. And a part of that is we've got players and it's not all Ross's fault. It's not all Tiern's. It's not, but because I think part of it is what's in the box. But Ross is too easily past. They're running around him, or running, like he was a rock in the ocean, and they're just running past him. It's not his fault.
He's fallen victim to circumstance of Presti coming back in, because when he was getting more midfield minutes, I thought his performances were well and truly okay, and he was heading in the right direction. But they've just gone, with obviously Presti is Prestia, but then they're not really giving him the chance to go back in there. And it's kind of another Sonzi 2.0 where they're asking Ross to play half forward, that he's not really a half forward. So he's kind of in no man's land, and he's getting kind of caught out. But if they're going to play him, you've got to use him in their best positions.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I'm with Gus. Like, I'm not saying he wasn't one of the, like, he was in the, this is what's really strange. He was in the top 7 of our players on the weekend. But a lot of that was based off the last quarter. If you just go rewatch the game, a lot of that was based when we started getting our engine going, and, they started putting their foot off the gas. We started looking a lot better, and why the pressure dropped. When the pressure dropped, then Taranto and Hop could easily give us clean supply. When that clean supply started, Ross got into the game. See, that's what I'm talking about. If you don't have that clean supply, you get dominated. We've really, I want us for the rest of the year to completely change our midfield. Let's throw different combinations in there. Let's see what clicks.
Yeah,
right?
We definitely need to mix it up.
Yeah.
A few people are mentioning that they want to see Mansell get more involved in the game, and I don't necessarily disagree. The reason why I think he's not involved, and it's also the reason why I think that Steely Green and maybe to a lesser extent Seth Campbell aren't often as involved as they need to be, is because we don't have that more mature body up forward to help bring the ball to ground. It ties back into that when we go on a counter-attack, almost 55% of the time, the opposition are marking it. So it takes our small forwards out of the game instantly. So they've got nothing to do at ground level, can't really apply tackles because it's not a loose ball get or anything like that. So that's why I want to put Lafau in to help Lynch bring the ball to ground, because as much as I love Sims and Fall and what they're doing, I just don't think it's helping us on that front for the now. Long term, they'll be fine. But McKelty, watching him in the VFL, smashes into packs relentlessly, brings it to ground. He's a good mark and a good shot for goal himself, applies pressure. And I just think that basic tweak, I think we'll see an automatic output increase from Mansell, Seth Campbell, and Steely Green if he's still in the side, because they'll get more opportunity with the ball at ground level when it's up the front end of the ground.
And the other thing but Mansell, in fairness, he was on their half-back flanker. Who was it? That red-headed dude, Richards, I think his name is. I can't remember.
Ed Richards, he's good.
But played a really good game on him. Like, he didn't get many disposals himself, but either did that kid. So he was the one I was most worried about, and he managed to do a roll on him. So, look, I'm with you. The other thing about our number 2 ruck, people saying, let's take him out of the side. For me, honestly, I'm coaching him for next year. And I think
for Sims you're talking about?
Sims, yeah. You'll learn more being second ruck to Nank against better opposition in the VFL. We've got so many gaps on our list where we've got players that if you just compare them to what they, like, for example, with Jack Ross, his better games are as a half forward, but if you compare him to other half forwards in the league, he's rubbish. Don't mean disrespect, but he's rubbish. Doesn't hit the scoreboard.
In that position, because it's not his position. In that position,
really. Yeah. But I know, but he's playing that. That's where he's had good games, but he's rubbish statistically. He's not. So Sims as a second ruck, he has periods in games where he can be that link-up tall target that Lynch can't be anymore. When you remember Lynch used to, from forward, run up to the wing and take that big, huge mark and then set up our forward. You see that in Sims. He's trying to do it, right? It's just because our supply is so shit and we have messy, dirty ball all the time. He's either under the ball's off to his right or the ball's off to his left. Doesn't have to hit him on the tit, but it has to be close to where he is, can take advantage and take the mark. So I'm very protective of Sims in that sense. I'll just let him play all year. That's going to we need a second ruck. God knows we need one, because if Nank does a fucking knee injury, who we got as number 1 ruck?
Well, Samson Lyne's currently out. He's out indefinitely, essentially, with
Mate's just done his Mate's out for the rest of the year. He's gone.
Hayes Brown and Fawcett would be. So if Nank was to go down, and you're looking at Sims, Fawcett, Hayes Brown, currently as it stands right now,
you would have to have Sims as your number 1. Yeah.
Or maybe they go full hybrid and say, Blight, you've got to do the ruck work. I don't know. They'd have to get a little bit creative. But yeah.
But the last thing I was going to do, and I want to judge it off this game, but I'm even not adverse because Blight's been dominating. Go on a Blight and say, you know what, Camden, take a rest, son. Put Blight and Camden because he's actually a utility.
He's a good athlete too.
Yeah, he got recruited as a utility. He's playing in defence because that's what the VFL needs and that's what we want to train him for. But he's actually a utility in the WA or whatever. He played as a utility. I'd even go, you know what, put him as a second ruck. Have Sims as, give Nank a chop out. Go Nank, you play forward. Help Lynch out. And just put 2 kids in there. I've got nothing to lose. Yeah.
Doesn't hurt. I think, if there's ever a time where you've got license to do things like that, it's in a time like this where no one's really fussed about results. They just want to see when things aren't going your way, try something a little bit different to get games back on your terms and give exposure to other players that they may not have necessarily got recently. And hopefully we see that for the last part of the year. And it's going to be interesting because I know we've only had minimal changes for this potential week, pardon me, but in the next 3 or 4 weeks, there's going to be some serious headaches when it comes to selection. I mean, Harry Armstrong will be available very soon. I know you've got Houghton in, but if it's not this week, it's going to be the week after or the week after that. Josh Smiley's about 2.5, 3 weeks away. Josh Gibcus is going to come back and play footy in the next week or 2, so give him a couple of weeks. Then
Short's
he'll be
back.
Short's another one that will be back. So there's about 5 or 6 names that are due to put their hand up and have a crack at playing AFL football, and it's just going to be interesting to see how we're going to try and fit them all in if they're all playing well at some level.
My dream, and it won't happen, but this is my dream, that the match committee goes, let's forget experience or how many games they've played. Let's put a player in their best position regardless of experience. So if it means a kid's name is replacing, let's say, Taranto, we believe he's going to be a better midfielder than X, he gets put in. And we do that through the back line and the forward line and the wing. And just see what that team looks like and then play that team. Regardless of how young it is, play it. Because, see, this is the opportunity we've got. Melbourne, when they did that disastrous rebuild, they actually were brave enough to do that, but they did it for way too long. We've got the opportunity to go, you know what, with a pretty stable back line, let's just do that with the midfield and our forward line. Pick who we think is going to be the best to carry us forward. We're going to get smashed in games, but what is it? It's only 5 games. It's only 6 games left to go. It's not going to really dent us too much. It protects our number 1 pick. We go in there as, look, guys, this is what we're doing. So the senior players are readed into it. They understand that they're really coaching in an AFL game, so they can be in the right mindset for it and give these kids exposure. That's what I hope what we do. And to see how that team looks, because there will be passages, particularly early in quarters, where they might actually look really good. And then that's how you build your confidence and all that sort of stuff.
There's plenty of things that they can do. I want to talk about Josh Gibcus just quickly, sort of on the back of JD's question. I've seen a lot of people put forward that Josh Gibcus should be shelved for the rest of the year. I am dead against that. I reckon that would crush him mentally to go through all that rehab for the club to put a time frame on a return. And I'm not saying I'm not suggesting JD said this. It's other comments I've seen on socials. To then say, you're back in 3 to 4 weeks, but we're going to shelve you for another year, for the rest of the year. I think that would do a ridiculous amount of damage to him and his belief as a footballer. We've 100% got to play him, and it'll obviously start at VFL level, but I can comfortably see him getting games in rounds 21, 22, 23, somewhere in that vicinity. It's where does he fit in though, and who does he come in for? I've got no idea.
You're going to have to replace him with Banks or Broad. They're the only 2 real positions. You're not going to replace Tom Brown. Tom Brown's having a fantastic season. And Tom Brown is basically Nathan Broad, but in the future, right? But we're keeping Broad on. And Broad is playing good football, okay football actually, but the whole back line's getting swamped. So you would have to go Banks. All right, Banks. What I would personally do, I'd play Gibcus, for your exact reasons. He's had this goal. He's worked his tail off. He's finally there. I'd play him a couple of games in the VFL so he gets confidence and we know, we can ease him in. And then straight away he replaces either Broad or Banks.
I had it down as Broad personally. So
Yeah,
I did a video
Same
that's coming
page.
out on Friday for a round 19 team, which includes
Yeah.
Gibcus. And I've got Broad on the bench, but I was excited to read a training report from Caesar on punt right end that he saw Gibcus running and jumping really well at the ball and spoiling like he was when he was first drafted. So it looks like he's got that belief and confidence in his body. And if that translates when he returns to VFL football, he's going to be an exciting addition. But there is absolutely no way I would not play him. You got to get the games into him just so he believes in himself again.
And that's what I'm exactly on the same page with you. And then with Short, what I would do is play him the Lambert role. He's the one I would put high half forward. Why? Because he's got that kick. Yeah, he's not a really good contested player, but we're not getting any contested possession from Ross. So let him be that outside winger, the hybrid, like what Lambert used to do. Run, because that's what Short can do. He has a bit of a tank, and he can get that ball, and he can boot it 60 metres.
Tiggs isn't saying that Gibcus is going to play the Banks role, but you'd shuffle deck chairs and Trainer can go back and do that or whatever it might be.
Yeah, because I'm conscious of the fact we're playing Trainer out of position, right? Yeah. Banks, for me, was recruited as a halfback winger, right? That's what. So I would say, okay, Banks, we played you because you needed to cover Short. Let's put Trainer because he's showing that he's starting to develop. Let's put him back in his main position. We've now got a settled back line where we've got Gibcus, we've got Bolter, we've got Brown, we've got Miller, we've got Traynor, and we've got Vlosten. That's our back line for the next 3 years. Finally, we have a line that's locked in.
I reckon they'll keep Banks locked. I reckon they'll go your Broad option. That would be my priority.
I reckon Banks is a midfield. Banks can run, and he can run all day. He can help supply the mids. I'm judging him on his junior. I saw a lot of Banks. Particularly, it was unfortunate he was injured when he came to us. But he and both Brown can go up push up on the wing. It's just Hugo, I think is worthwhile persisting. But I love Hugo, but he's average.
It's an interesting, to wind it back half a step, it's an interesting proposition if you push Brown and Banks up to the wing. Once once the full back line is available, which includes your Gibcuses and whatnot, what that then looks like if they both rolled up to a wing as our wingers, and then Trainer goes back and
then Hugo goes
somewhere else, and
Hugo goes as
there's
the
plenty
sub.
of ways it can work.
Camden never plays again. Hugo goes as the sub till he can prove that he's got the engine, or we might put him on the interchange. Yeah, so we've got options. It's just Gibcus needs to be playing AFL, not VFL to start though. I really believe.
Yeah, he'll 100%
for his own nerves.
VFL. Yeah,
for his own nerves, just to get that, a couple of contests and know he's fine and start to build into it straight into the. That's the same thing with Charge Houghton. That's why I want him playing this week. Why? He's worked his ass off at rehab. He's worked his ass off, and we put him in his now had a taste.
I mean, if we're going to play, we've played. Kane McCall for 65% time on ground. So there's no reason why it couldn't be managed that way.
Put him as a sub. If you want to, put him
as
a sub.
No, we're not debuting him as sub. No.
No. But he's had a couple of games of VFL. What I'm saying is if you want to manage him like a sub. He goes in for bursts, 5 minutes a quarter.
Oh, like a soccer sub. Yeah, come on and off.
Okay. 5. Sorry, I'm a wog. Yeah, 5 minutes a quarter. And so we can use all of his energy in that 5 minutes till he blows up and then he rests.
Yeah, so we can manage him like we have for Kane McCall. Now, Alec, I take it you're jesting. Miller is not rubbish. He is statistically our best defender and in the top 10% of the AFL. So I will not be having that in any way, shape, or form. There's a lot of Miller haters out there for some very strange and bizarre reason.
It's probably because when he got recruited to us, we didn't have a place for him, and Hardwick tried, and look, Hardwick Premiership 3 times tried to get Miller in the side and keep him there. He identified that.
If we didn't have Miller playing this year as well as Vlosten, we would have conceded a shitload more goals than what we have. Triple-digit losses. And Broad for that matter too.
I have to be honest. I get with this head injury, I can sometimes overreact, but I was filthy the way we played Broad on the weekend. We did not protect him. We left him out there to get crunched. I'm surprised. I was going to put him out because hopefully he didn't go through concussion protocols. I couldn't find if he did or if he failed them or passed them. I'm assuming he's playing, but the way we left him to the Wolves, and I know what happened because we got such a it was because it was just. I'm not going to go on. The show will go on for 25 minutes if I keep on going on, but we threw him into the Wolves pool of Vlosten. Lucky he didn't hurt himself even more severe.
Yeah, I was really glad he come back on after the. I mean, Norton didn't do anything wrong. He was just going for his mark, but
he knew what he was doing. He
knew
what he was doing. He was doing what Hawkins. And
I mean, as all good key forwards would try and do, I guess, in some way, shape, or form.
But a lot of his knee in the head, AFL's got to look at it. A lot of the knees in the head, he was doing it when he knew the ball was over his head. He could not mark it. So he went up.
Clubs have finally worked out. Well, not finally. I think they've known it for a little while, but Vlosten's a massive piece to our puzzle with how well the backline operates, and it's a travesty that he's not had an All-Australian. Do we think that Macca will retire? I think he's too old now. I think it had to be done last year.
I've been spewing, not an All-Australian, not a captain. He should have been captain.
I would have liked him. Actually, funny you say that. I'm pretty confident there's been a point in time where he has said publicly he never wanted captaincy.
Yeah, but I would have loved him to be captain.
He's a spiritual leader, if nothing else.
He is. He is.
Do we think that McIntosh will retire at the end of the year? I personally hope he doesn't. I'm not at all saying for him to play in the seniors or a sub. I think there's definitely a phase out element. If he was okay with the option of staying on for another year, but of the understanding that he won't play all 22 games, because you do have to start injecting the youth a lot more frequently, hand over the baton and so on and so forth. But if someone was to go down with an eye, or there's suspensions or whatever there might be, you've got someone who can come in and play a role at a suitable level. That's why I would keep him around if he wanted to. Yeah,
the thing is, I agree with all that, but do we have a kid that could do that? See, that's how I'm sort of think. When you're in rebuild is different when you're established, right? Do we have a kid that could do everything you just said? That
I'm not saying that it's good to have him there as backup. So not for McIntosh to play ones ahead of that kid, but if that kid gets tired or is hurt or whatever, then at least someone can.
I get that because he's a utility. He's a utility player, Macca, right? So we've got 3 utilities on only a set of kids. So really, for me, if he was playing again next year, we're going backwards, right? I don't think he would play VFL. I just don't see it. I think he would just love to retire, and I don't think. He's a great character around the club, but I think he loves the country life and all that sort of stuff. So my gut feel would be that he would retire, unless the club can keep him involved in some like a development coaching role. I think he'd be perfect in, but I can't see him, I'll be 3rd, 4th string because he's a premiership winger.
Yeah, he might just want to sail off into the sunset and do his own thing potentially as well.
That's it, and I wouldn't blame him for thinking that way too. But
no, definitely not. Definitely not.
Oh, those 2 out in the Falls. Those
I know.
Kill me.
It was painful. What about, if people keep sending through your questions, we'll answer a few more. But in the meantime, did we want to talk about the trade stuff, the name that can maybe now be said?
Yeah, I can.
Certain circumstances.
Let me give some background and then you can drop the name, right? So we identify keep in mind, we haven't got the player. The player's re-signed, right? Just recently. Today, I think, in fact.
Or about to. Yeah, one of the two.
Yeah. Or is very close to. But the name, and it will eventually end up coming out in the wash. I reckon, like Hartlett's one did when I went with Hartlett. Oh, no, we never were. Then Hartlett admitted it, that he was so close to signing with us, but stayed. But what you really got to focus on the player, identify that player, that the characteristics, what we're looking for, which is perfect. It's the right age. I think the kid's around about 24, 25, 26 in that group. He's clean with the ball. He's got pace. He's exactly what we want, right? So for me, that's the type of target we're going to be looking for to bring in, and he wouldn't cost overly much. So what was the player that I told you?
The player that we were targeting was Oliver Dempsey from Geelong.
Yeah.
So, and I suppose the preface of that was, I think the club always knew that he was still in love with Geelong. I don't think we thought he was always a chance to leave, but it's one of those names that you see is out of contract. You're like, hey, you'd be a really good fit for us. What do you think? But he's got a pretty good relationship with the Cats, and I think he's about to sign or did sign today, one of the two. But good to know that we're eyeing off certain targets that maybe aren't having put pen to paper yet to try and ruffle a few feathers, and hopefully something falls out of the tree.
Yeah, and there's another 2 names which I hate doing this, but you guys understand my scenario. I can't go out with them unless I get okay, and I think I've got the okay, but I can't remember. So I want to be on air on the side of caution. So I'll speak to my mate, and if he's happy with me. But we're going for that type. That's the prototype of what we're looking for. Someone that can address a real need, which is speeder in that midfield. That's got the ability to break a line, that can actually kick fairly decently. And that's in that 20 to 26, 22, 23, 24, that window of age that will supplement what we've got. That's who we're trying to bring in.
Yeah, exactly right. No, exactly right. So, but yeah, good that we at least had a crack. We at least had a conversation. I think, it was probably always a long shot, but you've got to put your hat in the ring and see what happens. I disagree with this. I don't think we were ever in a position to get Davidson. His form didn't really hit until after the mid-season draft, so it wasn't really relevant then. And then which of our draftees would you rather have us not taken to take him in the draft, because we'd never pick relevant enough. So as annoying as it is, seeing him what he's doing for the Bulldogs, I don't buy into that. I don't think we're ever in a position to take him.
I have got an update on Reed. I've got an update on Reed. That was the other thing. Sorry. I just watch this space. I know that's not really an update, but he hasn't re-signed us yet. The money, everyone's talking about 15 million, da-da-da-da-da. If you think about it, it's, 1.3, 1.4 a year.
Some crazy numbers.
But if you spread that out, like if you fast forward and think, all right, we've got him for the next 7 years, if he signs a 7-year deal, in 7 years, how much is a star player going to be worth? It's probably going to be worth 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, as the cap increases. So, and we've got, from what I've got told is we've not walked away, but there's no way we'll pay that volume to destroy our list strategy. And this is the one thing that, take it to the bank, Blair is fantastic. Blair knows what we're going. Best. Yeah, he knows what we've got to do, how much we're going to pay, all that sort of stuff. So he's got a clear strategy. Our whole list management does, or how we are going forward. So, but we definitely want him. It's just, can we get it done? And will he want to get it done? But it's telling he hasn't still. Put it this way, I think we broke it first. Way back, we said it's going to be for silly money, like money that you've never heard before. I think that's what I said. Ages, and now it's come out as 15 million and all this gaga. That's what Essendon was. Essendon's the one that put the market waterline. I reckon that waterline's going to come down as he wants to get out.
Yeah, that's the longer it drags on, I guess the more interesting it becomes. It's the same, not even just with us, but with any players wanting to leave. It's like if they haven't signed by that July, August period, I think everyone's ears start pricking up a bit more and it starts to feel a bit more of a chance. So, interesting. I mean, look, it's definitely a tough sell in some ways to have him convinced to come to us, but I think long term we're still somewhat of an attractive prospect.
We're in a
Geelong have been linked to, in the last week, linked to Reed, Butters, Rao, who I think's re-signed with Gold Coast anyway, Cadman, Warple. There might have been someone else. I can't get my head around how they're linked to all of them. Number one, with the money, but number two, what currency have they got to get all these players? I don't know. Unless some free agents, I'm not too sure.
Free houses and, Cotton On and all this, but I think, it's also an easy name to drop for the media. They just drop that name. It's easy to do, because, these clubs would speak to their managers, but it doesn't, in the hopes of, but it's not like they're putting any real work in to get them because they know they're they're going to be blown out of the market. So the media guys can drop their names and say, at least, but I was right. So,
it'd be interesting to see what happens. I'm still a little bit torn myself on if I would give up multiple picks for him. Like, I do definitely acknowledge he would make us a better midfield next year profoundly. I often chop and change on what I think in that space. But again, it all just comes back to I completely and wholeheartedly trust whatever Blair and the team do because they have got some serious runs on the board with making the right decisions at the right time.
Yeah. I think the Cadman boat sailed. I think that sailed when we really went all in and we didn't manage, he re-signed. Funny though, I thought the Butters thing was dead and buried, but I'm hearing, look, listen, don't be surprised. We've still got we're sitting there watching. We're going. I said it last off season. We're going to be going for a gun mid. right? And I haven't ever changed that. Now there's gun mids now openly in the market, right? We don't do things within a 5 or 6 month window. This is work that's been done for 24 months, 36 months. So I'm backing that, right? So I don't think till they re-sign, I never think we're out of the market because we've got a pretty good success rate. I
reckon Butters would be a harder sell. I almost feel like he's a little bit too old. Sounds true.
No, he's not. He's perfect
not.
Age. He's 20, 26. He's what is
but
he,
I mean in his mind, with where our list is at and where he would want to go and what he would want to get out of it, I feel like he'd be better served going to someone who's contending rather than going through the rebuild phase with us at his stage. I'll take him if he wants to come to us. I'll take him, but.
Jones, yeah, that's a great question. But the thing is that our midfield, what we see now, is so poorly skilled outside of, in relation to clean ball, kicking to advantage, clearance to advantage. We're so under par. We have about 3 spots. That's the brutal fact of it. So we could inject. Could you imagine if you had Sonzi, Houghton, Smiley, right? And then with Prestia doing the lead, right? And then you've got Nank rucking for them, feeding them the ball. Right there, you've got 3 kids. They're all kids, right? But they're all quality ball users. Then you've got the elder statement. And then you can rotate Prestia with Taranto. That's why I really think either Taranto or Hopper, we're going to – I have got no facts on this. It's just got gut feel and a few murmurs I've heard that I haven't checked out fully yet, which I'll know towards the end. But I reckon we're looking at trade bait. I can't see both of them being on the list. I just can't see it. Else they're not going to be playing. That's the only way we're going to be able to get this club forward.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's plenty of different things to play out. I'm trying to read through the other comments. Is Houghton a pure mid? He believes he is. Skudoosh, I believe he will be. Maybe for the first year or two, he might have to do a bit of half forward wing and then rotate through the midfield at various times. But in my mind, in 3 or 4 years' time, he'll be in the midfield like what Bolton and Edwards were for us. I reckon. Yeah, maybe sooner. I don't know. But he himself believes he is a genuine
pure midfielder. Yeah, he's a mid. But I can see him playing the Lambert role because that's what we're screaming out for, and replacing Ross's position, having an immediate impact in his link play, in his ability to be that player in the right spot. So that disgusting handball that Taranto Hopper just fling out, he's able to get first possession for it and then give that neat disposal. And that effect that it will have, because we'll have 2 players able to do that, Prestia and Houghton, and we'll see the bet. And Adam might go, no, that's your position. Just stay there till we can develop someone else. But no, that's the thing.
He's going to be a joy to watch.
Don't forget Smiley. Like, I rate this kid. I rate him. He's not had a good first year, but I rate him. I'm more excited for Smiley, and I was this when we recruited him, and I'm happy to stand on this like I did on Miller, and I'll say it again. Smiley, in my opinion, has a higher shelf than Lawler.
Oof, that's a big call. Hey, if it happens, I'm happy.
Big call. Because I love Lawler. I love Lawler. I love the type of players. But he has to impact games in the guts. He has a higher ceiling because of his height, his ability to keep his hands always free. Dare I say it, it's Bont-like, right? Look at him. Look at his. Go on YouTube, put his name, see his, not just highlights, watch games with him. When he's in the guts, he's rarely ever brought to ground, and he's playing against men. That's the other thing. He's had a whole year against men. Yeah. And they can't trap his arms. He has that natural ability to bend into the tackle and keep his arms free.
He does,
He's big enough to hold that shape so he can handball or manage to drop the ball to foot. No one analyst has that ability. And that's why I'm so excited for him.
I'm liking him. This is a good one for Malik. And like the Flounders part's probably not the part I was more concentrating on, Alec. I'm more concentrating on the Dow part because I'm with you. I've really enjoyed watching Dow grow this year. And if it's really unfortunate the timing of his injury, Alec, wasn't it? Because he was doing really well. And I think we all know deep down that in in the next year or two, he would have been phased out anyway, just with the talent we've got in. But I think I said this the other week, if I was the club, I would have offered him another contract after he hurt himself, just to show faith. Again, not saying he's going to play 22 games, but if someone was to go down and we need someone to come in and fill a role, he was doing it at a more than acceptable level. So I'm with you, Alec. He was growing really well this year, and I would love to see him have another contract put in front of him for next year, just to help out, because we're still a young side, so we still need a couple of experienced people in there to roll through and do a job for us at times, I think.
For me, and people are going to go at me now, but I'd prefer Dow over Ross any time of the week. Any time of the week. Why? Dow gets contested possession. He gets inside ball. He has the ability to distribute that ball by hand. His kicking, we know what his kicking's like. And what I was really proud with him before he got injured, he started kicking the football. He started getting better with his kicking because he actually started using that, the ball. But he's in all facets as an inside-outside player, he's superior to Ross. And if you compare the numbers, it's there, clear as day. But unfortunately got injured.
Spion, he was doing really, really well too. What else? That might be the other questions come through.
Just said, Egg, I get what you're saying, but we've got Ross as a high half forward because we know other place to put him that runs into the midfield. So I'm saying if you put Dow's not built as a high half forward, he hasn't got the speed, but really neither does Ross, right? He doesn't get too much contest that he should do for that role. So, but when he's in that midfield or contested possession space or the contest, Dow beats him hands down by getting the ball, able to distribute it, and able to exit the contest. If you just compare raw numbers for inside.
A half forward line's really interesting, isn't it? We're definitely just trying makeshift roles for some of those positions and hoping something lands. But I think over time you're going to see your Seth Campbell's. Hotton's going to play a role at half forward. Hopefully Jasper does in some way, shape or form. I think we'll see our half forward role evolve over time, fingers crossed. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how our team evolves over the next coming weeks as well, with plenty of names set to come back in. Do you reckon, I'm guessing Smiley will have to play a few VFL games first. I think this time though, when he goes back to the VFL, I reckon he's going to be a different animal with the way he's trimmed down and gotten into a bit better shape. I reckon he's going to actually hit the ground running.
He's lost all that puppy fat, isn't he? He's lost it all. Look, he's perfect. Look, you know what? Because this is it. If it was the start of the year or our season was alive, yeah, you're right. Play him in the VFL. But I'm a big believer in this. When you have a Ferrari, right, you don't drive it to the shopping centre, right? You take it down the Great Ocean Road. You drive it under, we've got a Ferrari, so put him in. He's still going to give him exposure for a quarter and a half, then sub him out. Do that till he gets that, how great's this? He's done all this rehab. He's proven himself. Get him to boot and keep him in playing senior game. I think it was Pendles is quoted as saying, for every quarter of senior footy you play, it's like 5 or 10? I can't remember now. VFL games. Right. In relation to experience that you get. Yeah,
I'm all for. I wouldn't be against it. And I suppose to double up on the Smiley topic, this is an interesting one from Widescreen. Smiley off halfback is his secondary position. I've run with this a couple of times because he has played this in his underage years. He did it really, really well. So the reason why I thought this could be a possibility is because we've already got Lawler resting at half forward and then going midfield. I'm not sure we can have Lawler and Smiley resting at half forward to then go midfield. I just don't know if it works. And I don't know if I've really landed on where Smiley's second position is. Like, I know everyone's going to say, he's a midfielder. He is a midfielder, but he's not going to be playing 80% midfield this year or next year. So we have to find a secondary spot for him on the ground when he's not in the midfield. And I haven't quite landed on where that is yet.
I reckon wing for me. Like, I was the same. I'd put him in a halfback flank, but halfback flank wing, that's probably what I'd set him. When Smiley's in, I'd probably say Hugo, dominating the VFL. He takes you because he's got a decent tank. He's got that beautiful height. He can play he's a good endurance athlete, and he's a good mark for his size. And he can then rotate into the midfield. But he has to play. Yeah, for me, the non-negotiables, I will be furious and write a stern letter to the Richmond Football Club. Is if Tash Houghton is fit, if he's not playing AFL, if Smiley is fit, he's not playing AFL, if Laylaw, when fit, he's not playing AFL, if those three boys, and obviously, so that's my brain injury. Oh, fuck. The defender who's already playing every game nearly. What's his name? Trainer. And if Trainer's not playing every game. And if Gibcus, if fit, is not playing every game. So those five boys aren't playing every game in the AFL. If fit for the rest of the year, we're taking the piss.
Yeah, I mean, they'll definitely need at least one or two in the VFL just for some minor conditioning, but there's going to be some names being left out in the next few weeks that are going to be very, very unlucky. But we need to have exposure. And we saw Harry Armstrong, who I think will come back in for the last few games as well. I mean, I think he'll probably need 3 or 4, maybe at VFL level, just because of the length of time out with the hamstring.
What do you think is Armstrong as our second ruck?
No.
Because he reminds me I want him as a forward, but hear me out. But he reminds me, he plays like Nank. He's aggressive. He loves to crunch.
Not sure he's tall enough, though, to do it. I know he's on some forward stoppage rucking.
Yeah, because I've seen him with the forward stoppage. But, I'm thinking about him in the next 6 years, 5 years. He's worked into his body. But I could see him play that, second ruck when we need it.
I think he'll be one that we can definitely utilise in forward 50 stoppages to ruck, to let whoever our ruckman is sit back and not have to run the length of the ground every contest. We even let him do it in his first preseason game. I know they all mean nothing, those preseason games. I think he'll be one of the best of the forwards that we've got. He's just a beast. And he can kick too, which is nice.
Yeah. I love the forward that we've got now. I think he's got to be the pick of the litter. He's got to just kick straight. He's just got to kick straight.
In 3 to 5 years, we'll be laughing.
He's done something like, what is it? He's kicked, I can't remember what the numbers were. Was it 719 or something stupid like that? It was like really lopsided.
Oh, for Jonty Fall?
Fall, yeah. 7-9. What's his
it was something like that. Yeah, it was lopsided.
Could you imagine if he had a normal conversion rate? That means this kid in his first year, not playing every game, has kicked nearly 20 goals, 18, 16. So, that's insane. So he's doing hard work.
He is. When you consider that, like, most first-year key forwards do not play. There you go.
Oh, well, there you go. 4'11". Thank you, RFC. Yeah, that's still
most
good.
Most of those youngsters don't play in the first year or two because they're still just raw and need time. So the fact he's even out there doing, same as Sims, out there doing what they're doing is really, really good to see.
Yeah.
I do think it's time to get a bit more of a mature body down there, though. But long term, they're going to be guns. I think we've been very lucky with the players we're able to.
We are. We have, and I'm not having a go, it's just because I know it's the first year, all that sort of jazz. But do we have the right setup to develop coaching-wise, development-wise, to bring this group forward? That, for me, is still the answer. It has not been answered.
I like that we've still got Steve Morris still in the ranks. I think does a really good job.
Morris, Carousella, big tick. Rutten, for me, probably need a new voice. He's been there.
I kept hearing whispers, and it could literally just be random comments, but I kept hearing that we were maybe looking at Hinkley to do some type of role after he finishes up at Port Adelaide. But I really didn't think or know if there was much in it.
The other thing too is, and it really makes me upset to say this because I love this guy as a player and I love him as a Richmond man, and I always will. But Newman, he didn't really set the house on fire at the Hawks. This is what I've heard.
Well, he got Box Hill to a flag, though, didn't he? He coached their VFL.
But in their program, he sort of like, because if you think which type of won flags, in the VFL, you could really, I think, some put in names and they've won a flag or got to a grand final, because the VFL is so compromised, but yeah, I don't know. I hope I'm wrong or what I've heard is wrong, but I don't think has he the type of, I don't know if he's, is he just very vanilla? That's probably where I want to get to.
Yeah, I suppose we'll find out a bit more in the off-season. Then we've got obviously Jack Zeeble as well, who's been new to the club.
That's the other one I've never understood. I've never understood why he's at the club.
I
I've never
suppose being
understood
fresh
it.
out of the game, I think he's
Yeah, but what
done a
does
bit
he
of
bring?
coaching and.
But what does he bring?
Well, I think at
You've
the moment
got-
he's doing development work. I think he was meant to be doing line coaching, but they changed
Yeah.
it to
Thank
development stuff
God.
because
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
amount of
Oh,
kids
that's what I
we've got.
thought too.
And
Yeah,
like
which
from
is great.
all interviews I've seen, all the players have spoke really highly of him with
Yeah,
the work he's
which
done
is
with
good.
them too. So hopefully he
But
keeps
not as
getting
a
a
line
bit more of
coach.
that.
Yeah, not as a line coach. But yeah.
But I think that'll be a wrap for tonight. So thanks, Tix, for jumping on. I appreciate it and giving your 22 and your thoughts. Thanks to everybody in
Yep.
chat for jumping on as well. And thank you to those who sent through the voice messages as well.
Yeah, that was
I'll keep
great.
posting that link and I'll find other ways we can utilize that for different shows. I think it's a good way because I do respect that not everyone wants to do a video or have their face on camera and things like that. So if sending a voice recorder like a voicemail is another way that you can have an input and ask a question, more than happy to roll some more out onto the upcoming shows. So thank you to everybody who participated.
It's important to note, Vertex, you, mate, you're never late. You always are in our hearts.
Yeah, exactly.
So just letting you know, mate. Just letting you know.
But have a wonderful night, everybody. We've got Behind Frenemy Lines tomorrow night with some Crow supporters, so we'll see how that goes. It's going to be another big game coming up this week. But if nothing else, I think we're going to try and do a live show for the VFL again. I'm pretty sure we're playing at 2:00 on Saturday for the VFL, something around that time frame anyway. But I'll post all of that if I'm going to do a live for that one. And then Sunday, obviously game day against the Crows. But thanks for tuning in, folks. Thanks for all the different and varied opinions. I love that it's very diverse and everyone's got different thoughts and feelings about how the team should line up. And there's no real right answer, I guess, because it can be done a million different ways, and it's only going to get more difficult as it gets further onto the season. So have a wonderful night, everybody, and until next week.
I love Big Coles. You've got to do that Monday for that show. You've got to do the podcast. Yeah.
In the power stand.
You've got to do it.
It's a good shout. It's a good shout.
Yeah, it's a good shout. I like that.
That's good. Until next week, though, guys, have a good one and go Tigers.
Take care, guys.
The power stance. Love it.